What if the reason your life feels confusing, repetitive, or strangely scripted isn't because you're doing something wrong, but because you were taught to see reality in the smallest possible way? From a very young age, you're told a simple story. Life is random. Things happen. Some people get lucky, others don't. You just do your best and hope the dice roll in your favor. That story sounds comforting at first. It removes responsibility. It tells you that whatever happens is just how things are. No deeper meaning, no structure, no invisible logic behind it. But here's the problem. Deep down, most people don't actually believe this. Because if life were truly random, you wouldn't feel patterns. You wouldn't notice cycles. You wouldn't sense that certain situations keep repeating until you change something. You wouldn't feel that strange tension between I chose this and this was inevitable, and yet, you do. Baruch Spinoza, one of the most misunderstood philosophers in history, argued something deeply uncomfortable, that what we call chance is often just ignorance of causes. According to him, nothing exists without a reason. Not emotions, not events, not even your so-called impulsive decisions. Everything follows from something else, like links in a chain you can't fully see. That idea alone already destroys the concept of randomness. If your actions come from your desires, and your desires come from your conditioning, and your conditioning comes from your environment, your upbringing, your fears, your unmet needs, then where exactly does random fit in? Here's where people get defensive. Because if your life isn't random, then it means your current situation isn't just bad luck. It means there are forces shaping you. Psychological, emotional, social, whether you're aware of them or not. Carl Jung took this even further. He said something that sounds almost cruel at first. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Read that slowly. If you don't understand what's driving you, it will still drive you. You'll just give it a nicer name so you don't have to confront it. This is why so many people feel trapped without being physically trapped. Why they say things like, I don't know why I keep ending up here, or this always happens to me. They're not cursed. They're not unlucky. They're repeating patterns they've never examined. Now here's the uncomfortable pause. If you're watching this just to feel inspired, to hear something that sounds deep but changes nothing, this is where you should stop. Seriously, if you're not interested in evolving, in questioning how your mind actually works, then this isn't for you. But if something inside you feels slightly exposed right now, that quiet thought saying, this might be about me, then keep going. Because once you accept that your life isn't random, you're forced to ask a harder question. If things have causes, then what is causing me? Nietzsche believed most people don't live. They are lived. Their values, goals, opinions, even their rebellions, are often inherited, not chosen. Society hands them a script, and they confuse following it with freedom. Kafka showed what that feels like from the inside. Waking up already guilty, already late, already behind, without knowing who set the rules, or when you agreed to them. And here's the truth, nobody tells young people clearly enough. You don't suddenly become free one day. Freedom starts the moment you notice you're not as free as you thought. So ask yourself this, honestly, without trying to sound smart or confident. Are your choices really yours? Or are they reactions, dressed up as decisions? And if your life isn't random, if it's shaped by forces you've never questioned, what happens when you finally start looking directly at them? And before you scroll away, think about this one sentence. If your life keeps repeating, maybe it's not the universe testing you. Maybe it's you refusing to change the input. Most people believe they are free because no one is physically stopping them. You can choose what to watch, what to wear, what to eat, who to follow. That feels like freedom, but it's the cheapest version of it. Spinoza would say this kind of freedom is an illusion. Not because you don't choose, but because you don't choose why you choose. You feel the desire first, then you justify it later. The mind runs after the impulse and pretends it was in control the whole time. Think about it. Did you choose your personality, your fears, what attracts you, what scares you into procrastination? Or did those things quietly form before you were even aware enough to question them? Carl Jung argued that the ego, the part of you that says this is me, is mostly a surface phenomenon. Under it lives the unconscious, instincts, memories, wounds, symbols, impulses. That underground layer doesn't ask for permission. It pushes, it nudges, it whispers. And when you obey it without realizing, you call it intuition, preference, or just how I am. That's not freedom. That's automation. Here's the uncomfortable part. Most people don't want freedom. They want comfort with the feeling of freedom. True freedom demands responsibility. It demands awareness. It demands admitting that some of your habits, excuses, and beliefs are protecting you from change, not helping you grow. That's why Nietzsche despised the idea of the herd. Not because people are stupid, but because following ready-made values feels safe. If everyone wants the same things, fears the same things, and measures success the same way, then no one has to face themselves alone. But the cost is high. When you live on borrowed values, you end up chasing goals that don't actually fulfill you. And when they fail to satisfy you, you blame yourself, not the script you were given. Kafka captured this perfectly. His characters are always trying to comply with rules they don't understand, to please systems that never explain themselves. They feel guilty without knowing the crime, tired without knowing why. Sound familiar? Now here's where resistance usually appears. People hear this and say, "So what? Nothing matters. We're just programmed." No, that's the lazy conclusion. Awareness doesn't remove responsibility. It creates it. The moment you realize your thoughts, reactions, and choices are influenced by deeper forces, you gain the chance to interrupt them. Not perfectly, not instantly, but consciously. This is where evolution actually begins. And yes, this is the part where many people click away. Because it's easier to believe life is random than to accept that your patterns are predictable. It's easier to blame chaos than to confront repetition. So let's do a quick filter. If you're comfortable staying exactly as you are, same reactions, same excuses, same cycles, then don't continue. There's no shame in that. Most people never go further. But if you've ever felt like you're living slightly below your potential, like something in you knows there's more but can't quite access it, then this matters. Because the next question changes everything. If your life isn't random, and your choices aren't as free as you thought, then who or what is actually steering the direction of your life right now? And more importantly, what happens when you take the wheel consciously, instead of letting old patterns drive? There's a belief that sounds intelligent, mature, even rebellious, but quietly destroys people from the inside. It goes like this: nothing really matters. At first it feels freeing. If nothing matters, then failure doesn't matter. Expectations don't matter. Fear doesn't matter. You don't have to care so much. You don't have to try so hard. But look closer. That belief doesn't make people calm. It makes them numb. Nietzsche saw this coming long before social media, long before constant distraction. He warned about nihilism not as a philosophical position, but as a psychological collapse. When meaning disappears, people don't become free. They become tired, passive, easily controlled. Because a person who believes nothing matters will accept almost anything. They'll tolerate jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, routines that suffocate them, not because they're forced to, but because they don't see a reason not to. When there's no meaning, there's no resistance. And here's the paradox. Believing life is random often leads straight to believing life is meaningless. If everything is just coincidence, then why struggle? Why change? Why risk failure? Why face discomfort? Meaninglessness becomes a shield, a psychological anesthetic. Carl Jung believed this was one of the greatest dangers of the modern mind. He noticed that when people lose a sense of meaning, they don't become rational, they become fragmented. Anxiety increases, depression deepens, addictions grow. The psyche looks for intensity wherever it can find it, even if it's destructive. That's why people chase extremes, drama, chaos, constant stimulation. Not because they're broken, but because something inside them is starving for significance. Kafka understood this starvation intimately. His worlds are absurd, bureaucratic, endless. But the horror isn't that life has no meaning. It's that meaning exists, yet remains inaccessible, locked behind systems and symbols no one explains. Now pause here. If you've ever told yourself it's not that deep as a way to stop thinking, ask yourself why. Was it clarity or avoidance? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Meaning doesn't disappear because it isn't real. It disappears because it demands responsibility. To believe your life has meaning means your actions matter, your time matters, your attention matters. And that's terrifying, because then wasting your potential stops being harmless. It becomes painful. This is why saying nothing matters feels safe. It removes the weight of becoming something more. But notice something crucial. Even people who claim nothing matters still care deeply. They care about respect, about being seen, about not feeling useless, about not being forgotten. Meaning leaks through the cracks, no matter how hard you try to suppress it. Spinoza would argue that meaning isn't something you invent or choose arbitrarily. It emerges naturally when you understand your place in the chain of causes, when you see how your actions affect others, and how understanding increases your power to act, not just react. Meaning, in this sense, isn't mystical, it's structural. It's the difference between drifting and navigating. So let me ask you something honestly. No performance. No clever answer. When you say nothing matters, are you expressing truth or protecting yourself from disappointment? Because if life truly had no structure, no causality, no deeper logic, then your pain would be meaningless too. Your longing, your curiosity, your desire to understand. And yet, here you are, still watching, still questioning. That alone tells you something important. Meaning may not be obvious, but it's not absent. And the moment you stop using meaninglessness as an excuse, you're forced to face a harder reality. If your life has meaning, then you are participating in it, whether consciously or not. Which leads us to the next pressure point. If meaning exists, and your life isn't random, then what happens when you realize you're not just a victim of circumstances, but a contributor to them? At some point, almost everyone notices it. The same type of conflict, the same kind of mistake, the same emotional crash, just wearing a different outfit. Different school, different people, different year. Same feeling. Most people call this bad luck, or coincidence, or that's just how life is. But philosophers and psychologists saw something else. Jung believed that what you don't confront in yourself doesn't disappear. It returns as fate. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your mind is unfinished business walking around. Patterns repeat because they are unresolved. Think about it. If you never learn how to say no, life keeps sending situations that force you to. If you avoid responsibility, you attract chaos. If you depend on approval, you'll constantly meet people who control you with it. This isn't mystical. It's psychological cause and effect. Kafka's characters don't suffer because the world is evil. They suffer because they keep trying to obey systems that were never designed to care about them. And instead of questioning the system, they internalize guilt. That's what most people do with their own lives. They blame themselves for patterns they were never taught how to recognize. Here's the brutal truth most people don't want to hear. If something keeps happening to you, you are part of the mechanism that allows it. That doesn't mean it's your fault. It means it's your responsibility now. Spinoza argued that freedom isn't about escaping necessity, it's about understanding it. When you understand why something happens, it stops owning you. Knowledge doesn't remove difficulty, but it removes blindness, and blindness is what keeps the loop running. This is why self-awareness feels uncomfortable at first. It removes your favorite excuse, I didn't know. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And this is where many people stop watching videos like this, because growth isn't exciting in the way motivation videos pretend it is. Growth is awkward. It's admitting you've been repeating things you swore you were done with. It's realizing that waiting for the right moment was also a pattern. So here's a moment of honesty. If you're watching this hoping for a shortcut, a cosmic sign, or a magical answer that fixes everything without changing you, stop here. This isn't for that. But if you're willing to ask one real question, then keep going. What pattern in your life keeps repeating, no matter how much you change the surface? Is it procrastination? Fear of judgment? Running from effort? Settling for less because trying feels risky? Those patterns aren't enemies, they're messages. They're pointing directly at the area where growth is being avoided. And here's something most people don't realize until much later. Life doesn't repeat lessons because it's cruel. It repeats them because repetition is the only language the unconscious understands. You don't change by knowing better. You change by seeing clearly, over and over, until you can't lie to yourself anymore. And when that happens, something shifts. Not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly. You stop asking, why does this keep happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That's when the loop begins to loosen. And that brings us to the final question, the one that actually matters. If your life isn't random, if meaning exists, if patterns repeat for a reason, then what happens when you stop running from awareness and start participating in your own evolution? Before moving on, ask yourself this honestly. What keeps coming back in your life, and what would happen if you finally faced it instead of escaping it? There's a reason most people flinch when they hear the word responsibility. They imagine control, rigidity, pressure, a life where every mistake is proof of failure. But that's not what responsibility actually is. Responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything that happens. It's about no longer pretending you are powerless. Spinoza understood this with brutal clarity. He believed that the more you understand the causes behind your thoughts, emotions, and actions, the more free you become. Not free in the sense of doing whatever you want, but free from being consciously dragged by impulses you don't understand. Freedom, in this sense, is awareness plus action. And that's the part most people skip. They like the awareness, they enjoy the insight, they consume ideas endlessly. But they avoid action because action removes ambiguity. Once you act, you can no longer hide behind potential. You are exposed to reality, to feedback, to failure. That's why many people stay trapped in self-reflection without transformation. They become experts at understanding themselves, but beginners at changing. Nietzsche warned against this too. He saw how easily introspection can turn into paralysis. Thinking replaces living. Analyzing replaces becoming. The mind becomes a spectator instead of a creator. Real responsibility doesn't mean becoming perfect. It means choosing to participate, even while imperfect. It means accepting that clarity doesn't arrive fully formed. You don't wait until you're confident, healed, or ready. You move first, awareness follows. Kafka's tragedy was not confusion, it was hesitation. His characters sense that something is wrong, but they wait for permission to act. Permission that never comes. Life doesn't give permission. It gives opportunities, often disguised as discomfort. Here's the part that matters most. Especially if you're young, you don't need to have your life figured out. But you do need to stop lying to yourself about what you already know. You already know which habits drain you, which distractions keep you small, which excuses you repeat, which choices move you forward, and which keep you looping. Responsibility begins the moment you stop asking for certainty and start acting with honesty. And yes, this is where many people walk away. Because responsibility means you lose the comfort of saying, "It's not my fault," but you gain something far more powerful: direction. When you take responsibility, life stops feeling like something that happens to you. It becomes something you engage with. You don't control everything, but you influence more than you thought. That's the quiet truth behind the idea that your life isn't random. Not that everything is predetermined. Not that there's a cosmic puppeteer pulling strings. But that cause and effect are always at work, and awareness lets you choose better causes. So here's the final question. Not rhetorical, not poetic, real. If your life isn't random, if patterns repeat for a reason, if meaning exists whether you acknowledge it or not, then what are you going to do with that knowledge? Will you scroll past it tomorrow? Turn it into another interesting thought? Or will you change one small behavior that you know has been holding you back? Because evolution doesn't start with grand decisions. It starts with one honest interruption. One moment where you refuse to autopilot. And that moment doesn't belong to the universe. It belongs to you. So think carefully before you answer this, even if only to yourself. If your life isn't random, what responsibility have you been avoiding? And why? Sit with that. And when you're ready, act.